It's always an ascent when you're heading to Jerusalem, the city of gold, bronze, and light. The deep valleys in the hill country of Judah make us almost as giddy as the excitement we feel as we get closer to what Ezekiel called the center of the earth. Now larger than Tel Aviv, Jerusalem is once again Israel's largest city and its capital. We're going to start with a complete circuit around the old city. On the north side is the picturesque Damascus Gate. Around the corner to the east is the Mount of Olives, important in prophecy, and therefore where Yeshua's students asked him about when he would restore the kingdom to Israel, that is, the northern kingdom. After he had taught them intensely for over 3 years, what was foremost in their minds was that this was one of the tasks the Messiah had to fulfill. And he didn't deny that, but he turned their attention to the first step in the process, finding those long-lost relatives and turning them back into worthy citizens, because one tribe wasn't enough to constitute a kingdom. From the top of the Mount of Olives, we're afforded one of the best views of the city and the Shushan, or Golden Gate. We're looking at it from across the Kidron, one of the deep valleys surrounding the city, which have aided in its defense. The Kidron is called the Valley of the Shadow of Death. It's the only place in Jerusalem not illuminated by the lights in the temple courtyard. David crossed over this valley when he had to escape for his life from Absalom, and that's when he wrote the 23rd Psalm. Yeshua's impending death also weighed heavily upon him right in that valley, and he too had to walk through the valley after his arrest. Only pure olive oil, given willingly at the first crushing, can be used to light the lights in Yahweh's sanctuary. Halfway down the Mount of Olives, on the edge of this valley, is a place called Gat Shemen, which very appropriately means an oil press. When he experienced the pressure of a choice so hard it made the blood vessels in his skin burst, Yeshua said, "Not my will, but yours be done." And we're still benefiting from that hard choice 2,000 years later. The olive trees the Romans cut down stayed alive at their roots, and they came back, just like those Israelites for whose sake Yeshua gave up the prospect of a throne, because our condition outside the covenant was a more urgent matter to him. The southern and western sides of the old city run along the valley called Gehinnom. In Greek it was known as Gehenna, used as a rubbish dump because infant sacrifices had made it unworthy of nobler use. Fires were kept burning there day and night. Like the lake of fire, it's not an underworld hell. It's a literal place right next to the city that represents the rule of heaven on earth, and the justice that includes. The lowest level of stones on this wall on the western side of the city are from the days of the Hasmoneans, descendants of the Maccabees. Most of the present walls were built by the Ottoman Turks in the 16th century. Before we explore what's within the walls, we're going to walk on top of them, starting at the Jaffa Gate on the west side. crenellated walls allowed a city's defenders to duck behind the higher segments when fired on, and these narrow slots let them shoot their arrows through at a variety of angles without being an easy target. And it hasn't been long since war approached these walls. At the Zion Gate, you can see the many bullet marks from the Six-Day War in 1967, but no heavy artillery was used inside. This is holy ground. Indeed, boys and girls are again playing in the streets of the city, as Zechariah predicted. In the shops here, it's not all business. They're also centers for teaching.
When one puts on the prayer shawls, the large one, the wrap, one essentially feels as if one puts upon himself the divine presence. We call the Shekhinah, other people call the Holy Spirit, but that's the feeling. It's an overwhelming feeling of being enveloped. When you cover yourself, you're separating yourself from the environment.
But no one comes to this land unless you're invited by God. The only reason you are here is your Father in heaven invited you here because He wants to spend some time with you in His house. Zechariah says, "We have been talking about men and old women rest on their canes and children playing the streets of Jerusalem." I don't know if you noticed, but the kids are out there this morning. And if you look in their faces, you're seeing with your physical, daily, side of your spiritual, including your own children. Ezekiel 36 says, "Mountains, shoot forth your branches, give forth your fruit, because my children are coming home." Which means every tree you see out there is prophecy fulfilled. Every blade of grass is prophecy fulfilled. Every fruit you have for breakfast. If you have fruit this morning, don't tell and marvel at how good the fruit tastes. It's because you're not eating fruit, you're eating prophecy fulfilled.